Hi everybody, it's Kate Quinn. Welcome to Sew Steady's Facebook Live on Sundays. And today we have something a little different. I think a lot of people know that 90% of our education content is usually templates for quilting, but Westalee does have a lot of other great products, and I thought it would be great to show you some different ideas for things that we have in our lineup for patchwork. So I'm going to share the Braider tool today. And real quick, let's come on in just a little closer so you could see this product. And I'll try to give you the bottom. Maybe I can't come in that close because you won't be able to see it all. How many people out there have ever made one of the braids? Have made like a French braid style? Okay, let's turn it. I think we could see it better this way. So I put the black behind it so that you could see it. Now, the width of my braid, mine is going to be a 6-inch wide. So that means that as the braid is working, the width will be 6 inches this way, and it's going to get, however tall. So this braider can go, up to this 12, and that's the length of it, how long that the braid will be. So let me show you a couple things. It's got the locking ruler, so it's got this adjustable bar. This one, you can put the thumb screws on there if you want to. I don't have those on mine just because I'm out. I have so many of these rulers that I have used them all up. But the length that I'm selecting is this 12-inch size. And there's a lot of numbers right here, so I'm going to just show you real quick. This has two sides, right? This is side B on this side. So all of these numbers right here are all side B. And then A is this shorter side right here. And you're going to match them up. Some will be cut on side A and some will be cut on side B. What's this right here? If I want to line up the Braider template or any of the adjustable locking rulers to cut my perfect strip size, that's what these are on this side. How wide is my strip? So we're going to choose to cut ours at this 2-inch size right here. And if I lined this up, this distance from here to here, that's the strip width that we're going to cut. And I've already lined up my Braider ruler. I'm going to show you that as well. You don't need that. You can just use this right here and use that with your adjustable locking ruler. But I'm going to show you my Braider ruler too. So this is the Braider ruler. I'll show you the bottom where it has the name right there. Braid and square ruler with adjustable locking fabric guide. This has the seam allowance already factored in. So for example, if I set it at 2 right here, like it's already set right there, this is not 2 inches in terms of the cut. This is going to cut you a 2-inch strip width for the Braider ruler. Right? So you got to realize that that is not necessarily exactly 2 inches. It's got your seam allowance already factored in there. So this 2 and this 2 right there are the same. Can you see that? So if I butt the bottom of my Braider ruler up and I've got this adjustable locking ruler set, I can line up that black bar and then I can adjust this to fit the proper width. So I've already pre-adjusted it just so we can go quickly. But this is the width of my strip. So what I did in order to kind of get organized, because I'm doing this as a scrappy project, is I lined up a bunch of strips that I had and I just cleaned up the edge right here. So these are all aligned on this edge right here. You can tell they're not aligned on that side. Okay? And how did I know how long to make my strip? So I am lining this up. This right here is the 2-inch strip. Can you see that right there? I'll just cover that right there. So I'm going to be using all the numbers on this line right here on B12. And I've lined that up at number 12. Well, then this width from there to here, that's the size of my strip. So I went ahead and I just pre-sized everything so that I can have a long enough strip for me to cut those braid pieces. But I need to cut this width first. So let's go ahead and get ready to do that. Hopefully this is long enough. We may have to cut on the diagonal. We'll see. So I'm going to line this up. I want to be able to put that locking ruler edge right here. So I'm going to need that on this side. Oh, that might be a little tight, huh? Let's see if we can do it. We'll see. Might be a little bit too tight. This is the width of our strip. We're going to set that black bar right against there. And then I just want to make sure that I can cut. So I'm going to just come down just a little bit so I can cut that last piece. Get that black bar, but right up to the edge. I've got several layers of fabric here, and I'm just going to hold right here on the edge, pushing down. With these locking rulers, these little screws right here can cause the ruler to tip a little bit. So when you're cutting, you're going to push down on this edge to make sure that your cutting edge is flush with your fabric. Okay, and then just make sure that I have a good cut. If my arm goes in front of you, I'm sorry. All right, usually I would just strip that right off of the edge, but we're kind of close on the edge there, so I don't want to be crazy. So now all of these strips should be the perfect width for the braid. This is based on the 2-inch strip width, okay? So I've got them all nice and clean. If any of the edges don't quite match up, I can kind of check that as I go, like if one wasn't lined up properly. But this is just scrappy, and these are ready to be cut with that braider ruler. So let's go ahead and set it up. I want to show you when we line it up, we always need to have the clean edge on the bottom side. Let's see if I can make sure you're in the camera right there. What I mean by that is that this is the base right here with this longer side, and this is the side that we want to go ahead and align right here. So you're always cutting on the bottom, although this locking guide may be adjusted for one side or the other. And the other piece I wanted to mention, let me just show you kind of a picture of what we're making. We're doing what we call braid number 2. Let me show it to you. Should look like that, okay? So when we do A, right here, this measurement is going to be aligned on this upper side, and then when we do on B, it's going to be aligned for the numbers on the bottom. So this yellow bar is not like this. It's just saying you're using these numbers right here, these numbers. And then when we do B, you'll be using the bottom numbers. And there's 3 different sets, and we're using the ones for 2 inches right in the middle. So I won't lie to you, I had to read these directions a couple times. So let me show you one more thing. Because of the way we're lining it up, we're using a 6-inch quarter square, which is D, and it tells you right here, based on whatever your width is, you're going to cut a quarter square for that width. So we have a 6-inch width. And then we'll use the half square triangle, the Westalee locking half square triangle, which will be half of that size for E. So 6 and 3, and I've already prepared those and cut those. And then I want to just show you one more thing. We are making braid number 2. So when we cut our A pieces, we are going to flip them so that they are wrong side down or right side down, and B will not be cut in reverse. B will be right side up. So because these matter which direction your fabric is, if you have scrappy batik, that can work in your favor, right? If you can cut it the right direction. So we're going to go ahead and just do this. We're going to do A with our fabric down and B with our fabric up. Okay? All right. So let's go ahead and we'll cut the first side and get this all lined up. Let's see how much room we have. We want to make sure we get our... Let's square up the bottom edge first, because I can see these are not quite aligned nice and straight. Again, we can just use this and line it right up near the edge right here. Butt that up and just cut off a little bit to give us that straight squared up edge right there. Okay, we need that so that we can butt that edge right there up against a nice straight of grain. So just carefully moving the fabric so I can get everybody to stay in line. Line it up, and I'm going to line up the edge of this ruler so I can get everybody on this edge lined right up like that. Now I'm just going to scoot it down. Because this is scrappy, I'm actually just going to cut this right off along there, and then I'll go ahead and trim that little edge right there. So just cut it this way, get all those little scrappy bits off, and then we can clean up the little edges. Okay, so that's our B. Notice that we cut it right side up, and when we do the next one, when we set it for A, we're going to cut it with the fabric like that down. All right, let me get that other stack, and we do need to adjust the size. So where is my little screwdriver real quick? Oh, I think it's on the other side. Hang on just a second. Oh, I'm having trouble finding it. I set it down somewhere, and now I can't find what I did with it. All right, let me see if I can grab another one real quick. Not the best one, but we'll go ahead and make this work real quick. This should be good enough. Sorry, I have to bring it a little closer to me so I can get it done. See, this is why you want those thumb screws. Oh, I'm so frustrated at myself. I can't find it. I need some better screwdriver so we can make that adjustment. Hang on just a minute. All right, so we were lined up on this number 12 right there. On A now, we need to line up on this 12 right there to get our A position. So let's go ahead and do that. It's right in line with this one right here. So we'll line it up and then tighten it up. Okay, double check my position real quick and just get it tightened up. So there you go. It's lined right up there. And now again, we're still going to cut on this side. The difference here is the distance that it's making right there, but we still want to line it up on the bottom for cutting. Always lined up on this bottom edge. So the first thing we have to do is, again, we have to cut the strip width and square up the edge. This one's a little bit easier, and I do have the edge kind of squared up already on this one side, but I'm just going to tidy it. It looks like it adjusted just a little bit, and then we'll cut that strip width. Okay, hold it down so you can get a nice cut, and then you can get those little scraps off of there. Okay, we'll get all of that out of our way, and we'll square up the edge. Now I have quite a few layers in here. This is a scrappy quilt really, so I've got quite a few layers. Let's see. Let's use the other side. I think that side's not lined up very well, so let's use this side. That's the other side has a lot of different edges in there, some of them very far in. So let's just double check and make sure that our edges look pretty good right there. Yeah, so I think we got everybody. So we'll cut that now, and we'll put that braider on and get the little braid cut out. Again, lining it up on the bottom, making sure that this edge is lined up. Oh my goodness. Can you tell it doesn't fit? Right? Did I line it up properly? I'm double checking. Oh my goodness. Those pieces are not going to be long enough. Let's just get a couple more. I got a couple of other ones over here that we can just play with. I think these are longer. Oh, I pre-sized, but I did not do a good job. That's how it happens, right? So let's double check our sizing right now before we do anything else. So that one is about as tight of a sizing as it can get, so everything needs to be that size or bigger. So let's just put a couple of these. That one's too small. Let me grab a few extra pieces. We don't need a million, we just need a couple, just to show you the idea. So I'm going to line them up right here like this. And what I'm trying to do is get this one side aligned. That way I can make it easier to just trim this a little bit and make it a little bit smoother. I got some purple. Let's see if these are long enough. No, not quite. Let's get one more. So a lot of this fabric is just from scrap. So I have a lot of leftover 2.5-inch pieces, that type of thing. And I've sorted them so that I can have ones that are approximately the correct width, give or take like, 2 inches. And that should work out well for this project right here. Okay, so I'm going to just clean this up a little bit. This one's kind of hanging off the edge, and I know we won't need that much. All right, so let's clean this edge right here. There's a little bump right in there. We can use that same braid ruler. And what we're trying to do is just create a nice, clean edge for us to work with. If you have a rotational mat, this would be a great place where you could just rotate the whole thing, and then you could cut from that side and you wouldn't have to be picking those pieces up. So that'll just be something to consider. If you have one of those, definitely I would use that. Okay. Alrighty, so we'll get rid of these leftovers and we'll just square up one edge. And that yellow piece was very, very short. So let's make sure he was our shortest piece. So we'll kind of trim from this side. I'm just lining up this back edge right here so we can use that to cut from. Let's make sure we got our yellow piece because he's the short one. He's the short bus in this group. Okay, I think we did get him. He looks pretty good to me. All right, let's line it up now. Definitely long enough this time. I'm so sorry, you guys. Stuff happens, right? To us quilters. Go ahead and line up this edge. Am I not in the camera? I need to get up a little bit more so you can see better. Let me adjust this to come down just a little bit so you can see a little bit more. Oh, I'm sorry. Hopefully that was not like that for too long. Oh, Sue, thank you. Good job. You guys paid attention. You're awesome. Can you tell I was a little stressed out? I wasn't thinking. I'm so glad you guys said that. So I'm going to flip it over. Yes, cut it in reverse. That's so important. Otherwise, it's not going to do what we want. We'll have half of our pieces won't fit. All right, so I'm going to line them up. You guys saved the day because you're awesome. So I'm just going to hold right here, make sure that all this cut is good. Because this is scrap, I want to cut just this whole piece off right here just to make my life easier. But sometimes if you're doing with a fabric, you may go ahead and just cut this really easily and then cut this way. And that'll preserve this piece for something else if you need that. And in this instance, with us doing scrappy work, we don't need that. So I'm not going to worry about it. Okay, let's get some of these pieces out and we'll start laying it out so you can see what it looks like. I don't think we'll need our cutting mat for the moment. Okay, So these are going to be the corner pieces up on the end, and those are 3-inch half square, and then this unit is a 6-inch quarter square. All right, we'll start our first leg right there. And those are the upside down ones, so those are our short ones. Let me get my picture out real quick. All right, so we want our angles to go the other way. So I need to go like that. This piece is a little bit short. I don't know what's going on with that, but we're just going to go ahead and start building it, and then we'll cut it. So we're going to sew this piece on first, and then that piece. So I don't know, it's said the width, but that is not the right width. I would use a bigger piece down here. I'm going to see if I have a bigger piece real quick. I think I do, and we'll just go with that. I think we're going to go with that. We'll just play with that because I think that's closer in size, and then we'll just trim the bottom off. So this is piece A, right? And then as we start building that, this is going to get cut off. So all of these edges on this side are just going to line up. So let's go ahead and we'll do that piece first. I do have my iron close by. I'm going to scoot that piece out of there. So A and B, sorry to bump you guys. And I've got my 1/4-inch foot. And let me show you what else I'm using. I'm using my grid glider right there. Okay, and I've got it lined up so that it's right on the center line. And this position, the needle is a 1/4 inch away. So let me just make sure that I'm doing this correctly. We'll get it lined up. I'm going to have to pull my chair in real quick so I can reach the foot pedal. All right. I'm going to get it lined up right there. And we'll use my 1/4 inch foot. So I'm going to grab a little bit of that scrap that we just had. And I'm going to start off with a little leader so I can get a nice stitch right at the beginning. That way we won't have any weird stuff happening as we get going. There's a little bit of extra thread in there somewhere. It's not affecting my sewing. I'm going to pull that out so he's not in there. Right to there. There we go. Okay, here we go. Okay, get everybody lined up, and we'll be ready to sew. So we'll cut these off real quick. And like I said, I got my iron right here real close by. So I'm going to go ahead and just give this a quick press so we can open that seam up. All right. So this is A, and then we'll put the B piece on. And you'll see it's going to go just like that. So we'll just add them in. And right here, I'm going to put a pin right at this juncture. I don't want that seam to flip up. And since we're sewing with this smaller piece on the top, I just want to put a pin there. Okay. So we won't do like a million pieces, but we'll just do enough of these so you'll kind of get the idea. So I don't want to sew over my pin, so I'm going to put him back on the magnet and just make sure that everybody's lined up nicely. and I'm using that 1/4 inch. So there's a line right there, right on my grid glider. Plus, I also am using the 1/4 inch with my guide on my foot. Okay, and let's cut that. And same thing, now we're just gonna get working and we'll be able to start moving a little bit quicker and getting these out. The reason I use the white on the bottom and I plan to use the white on the top is because I had a lot of leftover white from a project. And then maybe we can put some ruler quilting in this, and then that'll be sort of a motif for that space. This will be cut off eventually. This is the bottom, so it's really just going to be the triangle like that. But so far, so good. So this was B, so we need to go back to A. So we'll pick, I guess, a darker color this time and line it up, and then we'll do the next one. So same thing here as I line this up. I want to probably sew from this side just because I feel like that's more convenient for me. So I can manage this right here. Let's see. So somebody just mentioned, looks like I'm using the 3/8 inch seam. That is probably true. And the reason for that is I'm using a special setting on my machine that moves my needle over from center. So the reference line, it's moving this over a little bit already, but it's aligning perfectly well with this 3/8 inch mark. But I could move the grid glider over, but I don't need to. I mean, it still is aligned perfectly. What's important for me is that I have a clear reference line to line the fabric up as I sew. Okay, so, but yes, thank you. That I want to just make that clear. If I was just using the center needle position, I wouldn't have to move anything over. I could just use what I already have on there. But because I'm using a setting that works with this foot, then I have to go ahead and make a little adjustment right there. So make sure I can feed that little fold under there and just get lined up. Right there, and we'll sew right down. So it's right on the line right there, nice and smooth. I like that a little bit of an additional security as I'm sewing. Sometimes when I use a 1/4 inch foot, I feel like there's a tendency to push your fabric over and push it against the gate. And then you end up with just a little too much fabric eased into that seam. So if we have both the foot and the guide right there, we have two different resources to help us and make sure that we're doing it correctly. I'm just gonna stick that. So ideally, I should have another one of these that I could rotate. All right, we'll get pressed and get going. So you can see what's nice about that is we're starting to get this perfect alignment right there. And this is going to end up being cut off. And if necessary, the triangle even could be cut off to get the squared up edge that we want to. We would basically cut this bottom section corner to corner and cut anything off that extends beyond. So, all right, let's see where we are. We have long and short. So we need that was the short. So we need B. And I'm just doing these kind of in a random order. I have some different colors, like this is kind of a light color, this is a little bit darker. So I would want to just rotate a little bit back and forth so that I don't have all of the color bunching up. So like if this is kind of like too much pink and purple, I would maybe go in and see if I could find something else that's maybe darker. So look at, I don't want to use that, right? That's gorgeous color, but that's going to create a problem. So that would be one that I would just want to pull out of there. So let's put a nice Braidy in there. I think we will use this one. I think that's a perfect color. And then we'll alternate with these other ones that we have left. This is one that could go either direction. So that would be important for us to make sure that we're putting it on the correct side, because ultimately he's going to go like that. So you can check your fit kind of by looking at it right here on the edge. These all should go that same direction like that. Rita, it was freezing here this morning and the winds were like whipping out of the, west or whatever. I don't know. It was so windy and so cold. It was 40 something degrees this morning, and it'll be 80 during the course of the day. But ooh, that was unpleasantly cold, I have to say. Hope you guys are toasty too. I don't know what's going on with the weather. It's got a mind of its own. So lining it up right along my guide. Trying to use a good visual. Notice how these line right up like that. I love that. Super convenient. So I think this is something that works really well for scrap quilting because you tend to have, strips of stuff left, binding strips, things like that. And this is a really good way to use up some of those. And just by putting the white sort of becomes the anchor. Like this piece becomes the anchor, and there'll be little white caps on the top. And if you had leftover black, you can do that. We're doing braid number 2, and braid number 3 is the one with the little square right here. So like you could have a black and a black square and a black square, and then you could have your colors coming out. So there's 3 different braids that are in that braider set. And then there's also a braid quarter and half square, and also the braid strip cutter, which is also the same ruler that you could use for aligning your square in a square. So right there, we're starting to get our braid lined up. Oh, loving it. So let's just do maybe just a few more. I'll put a lighter color on this time so that we can match it up right there. I think this will go nice against that blue. So I'm just kind of looking through my scraps. Anything that I have that I think will be a suitable color, I can go ahead and use that. And again, this one I can sew from this side. So I'm going to line that up and just watch this little piece as it goes through. Hot in Florida. Isn't it always hot in Florida for the most part? I thought it was always hot there. I'm sure you guys get a little bit of cooler temperatures in the winter, but not cold, right? Is it cold in Florida? Okay, so just making sure that little fold goes under there. He was aligned perfectly, and now I'm just going to align him a little more. I'm going to show you as I move down to the bottom a little bit. There's a little bit of an edge cut in to each of these pieces down on the bottom. So right here, this fits perfectly. It's got a little alignment bar on this bottom cut so that the angle of these two will align perfectly. And as we go, we can kind of control for that, make sure that those match up. And then when we're done, we get that perfect alignment on that bottom. Right? Perfect alignment. When I say that, I mean it's user-based, right? Of course. But, right there. So when we open that up, that's close enough for me. I think I can work with that, right? And then as long as we line up our top, we should have a nice straight edge there on the top. All right, so let's go ahead and press that out. And then we'll probably just do like 1 or 2 more. We don't have a million of these that we want to go with, right? So as we're going, we want to try to create some good color variety. So this is kind of looking like a lot of orangey purple. So I would want to start bringing in like some bright pinks or, just something else, some other color so we can start varying it up. But I think the pieces I grabbed are a lot of the same colors. That's okay. That's because that's what I had. So line that up. Again, since we're sewing from the top right here, I'm going to stick a pin right in that little spot right there, just to hold that seam so he doesn't flip up. I didn't get to see who has made a braid before. What do you think? If you've made a braid before, do you think that seems easier or not easier? I think the challenge that I have is, so far, from what I've learned, is I have trouble figuring out what is the proper base size. So I think that it's got to be related to this distance, right? So whatever your A piece, your first piece that you put on, this long side of the square or the triangle has to be the same as this piece. Otherwise, you're not going to get a piece that will fit because you're basically cutting from here to this other corner on the diagonal. So I think that it would be useful to use that first piece like this, the A piece, and use this measurement to find out what would essentially be the size of your square. And then you could use the quarter and cut that because that would be this same line right there. You made a braid red last week? Somebody made one last week. This is definitely a very classic kind of a design. There's so many different variations that we can do with it. And again, it works really well for scrap, but certainly you can create your own patterns and do a lot of really unique stuff with that. We're lined right up there on the bottom, so it's going to fit perfectly. I just like that this means that I'm doing a little bit of the trim work ahead of time, and because I can line these pieces up really so precisely right there on the edge, then I know that this is the right size. And then when I'm done, I don't have to cut that for the most part because it's already going to be cut. So we'll probably have to trim a little bit of that up to this corner right here because this is a little small, I think, for this piece. So we'll end up cutting the corner to quarter from this braid section. So this one will have a little bit of flat purple right there on the bottom. I don't care. It's fine. It's going to look awesome. The key will be I have to do the other ones the same, right? Make sure that I use the same bottom square for all the other pieces that I'm doing like this so they'll all match up. A center focus piece, and then the braids went in opposite directions. Ooh, there is some directions in this braid guide for you to make sort of a center motif like this, and then have braids going this way, braids going that way. So that would be a really neat way to do that. You know, we're doing this as a square, but basically we would end up doing this other side as a braid going that way. And that would give us this center motif. You could even put big motif in here for ruler work, or even embroidery piece in there, and then you embellish it. That would be a really fun way to use this braiding tool. So, you know, part of, I guess, what we want to say is with a lot of the patchwork tools, you quilt them however you want. You don't have to quilt them with a ruler unless you want to, right? So we have lots of options with these patchwork tools for you basically to just do whatever you want. So this is kind of like turning very orangey, pinky to me. Like these colors to me, they all kind of like look the same. They got these sort of bluish undertones and then the yellow greens. So I would want to be like putting some browns in there, some vibrant red in there, maybe some different teals, a different colored blue, making sure that I vary this up as this thing builds along there. So make sure that you cut a sufficient amount of variety, because you'll see if we just put this red one on here, that's really going to start moving it in kind of a different direction away from what it already was. I think a lot of times I've learned through my scraps is that I have a lot of pieces that are kind of the same color. Like I like to think that I'm varying things up half of the time, but a lot of times I'm really not. I have favorite colors and I tend to use those same colors over and over. So a great way to get a little bit more variety from that is you create a little bag and you call your friend and you say, okay, I have, you know, giant Ziploc gallon bag of leftover 2.5-inch strips. So I'll give you mine if you'll give me a bag of yours, and that way we can exchange and we'll have more variety. Plus, then you get to talk to your friend, right? So let's get that little nub under there so he'll fit, and then I'm going to readjust this alignment right here, make sure that I'm all nice and straight right there. And he fits right down to the bottom, and then I'll line him right up on my grid glider, and off we go. I think we only have like 2 more pieces that we can actually use at this moment. So we'll just sew the last one on, and then we'll just kind of see what we got. Ooh, love it, right? So far, it's got this lighter color on here. So I kind of want something a little brighter that's going to be a boundary on here. And then we'll see what we can do. We'll put some end caps on there. I think I have a piece that might be big enough for us to do that. So this one, I think, is going in the wrong color profile. What do you think? Way too light color. I need something a little more vibrant, right, to close it out. So let's go ahead and we'll put this one on. I think that green will work well there. Oh, and look, I must have cut him the wrong way, huh? What do you think? I had him upside down, but he still looks good. He just looks a little lighter, so we're going with it. Some fabrics you can do that with, and some you definitely cannot. Putting this little pin right here also helps me hold everything in place as I'm getting everything aligned underneath the foot. So I think it's worth putting just that little one pin in. It kind of holds this corner into place. Yeah, I agree with you, Linda. I think it does need something darker, but then I would have to go back and cut some more because I only cut a few of them. So this is a sort of a representative class. I didn't want to waste a bunch of time by trying to cut a bazillion pieces. Next time, I think I'll try to cut some more. Oh, wait a minute. I think the reason why that's upside down, which I should have heated, is that this is not the right size piece. Look, right? It's not right. So anyway, this one I definitely don't want to go on there, so let's don't put them on there. I think the piece that I have that might fit would be this one, but I think that that's the one that has the weird part on the bottom. Let's just go ahead and get this out of here. There's only a few stitches right there. We'll just pull those. Just loosen them up. All right. So right there, I'll go ahead and I'm going to put this on here, and part of that is because we'll probably have to cut some of the top off to square it up. So I'm just going to put it on there. We'll just see what happens. This is scrappy anyway, so I can fudge it. See, now I know he's the right size. Look, he fits on there. I think that's an important piece of that braid, you know, the fact that these pieces fit together so nicely means that it's actually going to work just like how it's supposed to. All right, let me get him lined up again. Right on the top. Okay, and then I'm just going to make sure that this little fold goes right under the foot the way it's supposed to, and then we'll line up the rest of this. And he fits right down to the bottom perfectly, no stretching or anything. And I can just sew that piece right on. I think it's going to look better with this little darker piece on there for sure. All right. All right, let's press that, and this will be that last piece that we're putting on. Alrighty, so there's what we've got so far. I'm going to come out with the camera just a little bit so we can see a little bit larger piece of it. But I absolutely love how it looks. And you can see we're starting to get this perfect edging on this side. Everything's working. We can go ahead and just square the top off if we wanted to. I think that's kind of a waste. I am one of those people that wants to put that little white corner on there. So I think I have those. Let me just grab them real quick, at least one of them. All right. I'm not sure if this is the correct size. This is half of that other one, but we'll just kind of play with it and see how it goes. So on this piece right here, in order to fit your triangle on properly, I would go ahead and just do a little bit of this. Kind of get this aligned like that, right on the seam. Match up your corner right there in the middle, and then you can line up your triangle with that same fold right there. And then we'll just double check it and make sure it did okay. Yeah, I think that's going to be perfect. All right, so we'll just pin that there, make sure he stays in place. Maybe one more. This is the bias edge, right? We're using half square triangles on this side, so this is the bias edge right here, and that's the side that's going to be sewn in. And then you're going to have straight of grain on these two sides when this triangle flips. So as we're sewing with this, we want to make sure that we're not manipulating the fabric too much because this is that bias edge right there. So as we sew, I'll kind of set that up. And you'll see, I'll just try to go easy. I don't want too much pressure from my foot. I lost my little scrap right there. Let's definitely put him under there. I do like those little leaders. I feel like they definitely help us. So kind of feed that in there gently and then just guide it right along the line. I don't want to pull it too much or handle it. I'm just going to let the feed dogs do the work. Take that out and then just make sure that this is aligned. So I kind of tugged on the bottom to get it better aligned, the two edges. And then we'll just go right off the edge. All right, let me just go ahead and press that and I'll show you that one corner. You'll get the idea of how it's going to look. Okay, so this is what we have, and I would go ahead and just square this up. This and this piece, the way it's supposed to be, this is whatever your width size of your braid is, and then this is whatever is half of that. So half square and quarter square right there. Okay, and then I would just square this off, and I don't know, we may take a little bit of this one off. I don't know, we'll figure it out. Just because I have this little friend on there, he may get sewn in enough, but I think he's a little bit bigger than a quarter. But we'll just put this on the other side. I don't think I have that piece. Let me see if I have another piece of that white so we can just kind of finish it and then we'll trim it up. Alrighty, I'm going to get my cutter back out. I'm pretty sure that is the right size, the same size. So I'm just going to go ahead and cut that right along the diagonal. It's already a pre-sized square. Let's see how big it is. It's like 7.5, I think. Yeah. So we'll just cut that in half. I know it's a little big for this particular project, but that'll be good enough for us to go ahead and just cut it right in half and then be able to use this piece. So I've got the 45 right on this part. Let me show you. Yeah, Bonnie, good idea. Yeah, us quilters, man, we just fix everything. Fix it the easy way, not the hard way. All right. I moved things and I set my cutter down too, so I don't know what happened to it either. Oh, got it. Okay, so I'm using my 45-degree angle mark right there on this side because this is folded, and then I'm just moving the ruler in just a little bit so I can take just a tiny bit off of the edge right there. That way I can just open this up right on the bias like that. Need increased seam edge on one side. I'll have to look back at your comment and see what that is referring to, but right at the moment, I don't know. Okay, so here we go. I only need one piece to get that corner, and then I'm just going to fold that. Just make that little mark in the center, like that. Just pinch it, and then we'll do the same thing on this other one. Right there, and just pinch it. I want to have sufficient seam allowance extending beyond this, so then my piece goes over the edge here and over the edge there. And as long as the triangle will do that, I'm going to feel confident that I have enough space. He did not pinch well enough. I need a good little marking right there. Right there. Great. Then we'll get these lined up and put a little pin in that. Oh, can you hear I dropped it? I was waiting for it to fall. So let's get these lined up right there. I'm just setting one of the little pinch folds inside the other one. And I think we'll use one more pin just to hold that Again, with that bias edge, I need a little extra help. So nice and easy, sort of patting that into place, not trying to do any stretching on this white. And then we'll line that up. Yeah, so you can see he'll be colored, penciled in. We'll figure that out later. Oh, it's fine. It'll all work out. It'll all quilt out, right? We'll just quilt the tar out of it right there, especially right there. All right, here we go. All right, just make sure I got this first corner lined up nice and neat. And then just start feeding him in gently, and I'm checking my alignment right there. Okay. So this, because it has the guide, the pin has to come out, otherwise he starts acting up. And then let's make sure we've got this aligned right there all the way down. And then double check one more time right there. So right here, what I found is this part that sticks out, he doesn't like to go under very easily, so I'm going to help him just a little bit. I know, thank you. He's talking to me again. I can't quite reach my knee lift right there. There we go. Okay, so just help that. I'm just holding that fold right there so that he'll go underneath the foot. Okay, and then we'll go ahead and press that, and then I'll just show you the trim real quick. Yeah, I think we can do a little fudging right there to get that cleaned up. It's almost not even noticeable, except for it changes the angle right here a little bit. You know, that white almost matches, but we'll figure that out. So when I would trim it, I would trim it so that this point right here, there is a 1/4 inch above that, and it is squared up around the corner, and then I'd make the edges match right there. So you can literally just put a square on there and align it with that 1/4 inch, and then you'll be able to cut that piece in. Let's see if my cutting space is big enough to do that real quick on here. I'm not sure if it is or not. I think we can do it. I think we have enough room. Let's go ahead and adjust the camera just a little bit. I'm going to just come a little bit closer. See, did I make you dizzy? I'm sorry. Let me just get this camera a little bit adjusted. Now, somebody asked about the dots on it. Or zigzag. Oh, Bonnie, you sound like you have some good experience with this. I'm gonna have to consult you later. It's gonna be awesome. All right, so right here, you want one of your rulers that has the 1/4 inch. This particular one, remember we said this is seam allowance, so I gotta show you right here. Not standard measurements. Right? Don't try to use this particular ruler for this task unless you're just using the square edge, right? If we're trying to measure at that 1/4 inch, we need something here that will measure a 1/4 inch above that. So we need a squaring up ruler. All right. So here is my Westalee ruler. This is my square, 12-inch square adjustable locking ruler right there. You can just see that. And I'm just going to use this 1/4 inch space right here at the top to get that 1/4 inch cut in. I can also line it up right down the center of the braid like that, because these should all be lined up right there. So I can use several different resources on here and make sure I've got a good fit. Let's turn it this way. I think you'll be able to see it a little bit better if we do it this way. All right, so make sure I got everybody lined up right down the center using a line, a center line. And then lining it up so we have a 1/4 inch above and not too much above. right there. So right there, 1/4 inch, and then lining up all of those center lines. And let's see, I want to scoot that over. I can even line it up right on the 45 right there. There we go. I am so far away from this, I can't tell if I'm actually on the line or not, but I'm going to go with it. We're just going to fudge it because we can. All right, again with this one, pushing down, right? This one tilts a little bit. It's not bad right now, but I would definitely want to make sure that this cut is nice and smooth. And I think it's definitely all the way to the edge, so I think we're okay to go ahead and just cut out to there. All right, and then I'm just going to show you, we'll cut the last side over here, and we'll just trim that square with the existing area. So you're just going to line up this edge right here with the existing seam, because it's already there, and it should square up well with the top. So let's make sure it does. Right there. It's a little bit hard on this angle, right? I can't quite get in there the way I would if I was at home. Oh, sorry, my hair's in the way. But we'll just go ahead and we'll just fudge it. So there, we've finished that off. And then if you do additional pieces of the braid, then you can kind of get like a square and a square, or you can do one of yours white. And if you do your other braids black, you would get black, white, and then they would intersect at the corner like that. And I think that would look really cool. So let's go ahead and trim that last side. And we'll just line that up nice and neat. Right there. I even can line that right up on the 45 too. Right here, it lines right up on that line, which is so convenient. Now let's see if we can get back there. Good enough for our class today, right? I love how that looks. And then on the bottom, you know, essentially you're making this as tall as you want. I could keep on making it taller, taller, taller. And then down here, as I said, this piece is a little bit short. So essentially I'm just going to cut it off maybe a little bit above that. But ideally what you would want is to cut right across the diagonal of this triangle so that you're right at this intersection. And then whatever sticks out right there, you just cut that off. And that would be the bottom of your braid. So I think it looks awesome, and it wasn't that complicated, right? You know, it seemed like there were a lot of directions. I actually think that hopefully this will help some people that maybe have it or want to try it. I did have to read over the directions a few times. I won't lie to you. I mean, I did not think that I could just look at it and do it right the first time. I did do some playing with it and making some adjustments. Let me show you just real quickly the other options that you have, and I have one idea of what I'm going to do with it. The 3 different braid styles are listed right in this. It's got a lot of pages, a lot of information in there, and it even has some potential patterns. But the 3 different braids are on this page 7. So we're just going to fold this back. This one is sort of where you have like a double up. So you have A and B and B and A and B and B and A, and they're reversed. So you're cutting 2 of each, and you're cutting 2 forwards and 2 backwards. And that way they alternate like that. So this would be like if you had a certain amount of colors, then you wanted to alternate, that would be the pattern itself. You could, you know, do whatever color combinations that you wanted, and you could even ombre it, you know, dark from the bottom and then go towards your lightest red and go dark blue from the bottom into your lightest blue. And that would be kind of cool. So this is the one that we did today, where all of your center pieces line up and you have an A and a B. The B is longer, the A is short and cut in reverse. So you're going to follow these guidelines, but make sure that you also read the cutting instructions. And so this is kind of what we did today, but I have to do a little bit more math here on D. I think D has to be at least the same length as A. Just mathematically right here, this long length from this point to there has to be the same as the D side, right? Whether it's a square or it is a quarter triangle, it has to be the same size just to fit that A strip. And then if it does, then it'll fit the B strip, okay? So Donna Dean asked, is this a new ruler? No, sadly, this thing's been out for a really long time. And Leonie West has a portion of it, the video, out on the So Steady website, and it shows you how to cut the pieces, but then it doesn't have any assembly information. You know, I don't know if she did that as like a quilt along, and a piece of that video is just no longer part of the clip. But anyway, I think it does take a little bit of playing to get the ideas that you want. So let me show you the last one that you can do. This last one, I actually love it. I have a ton of leftover black, and I have all kinds of colored strips. And what these are is you're cutting the same size. So you're cutting A forwards and A in reverse, because the angles on here, I'll show you on this, go the opposite directions, right? So in order for them to be the right side up, you're going to cut half of them face up and half of them face down. Then this little square is the same size square as whatever the strip size is. And basically, you're just going to sew him onto one of them. So if you did A, then you're going to sew your little square onto B, and then B will be the longer one. Remember, because this is A size and A size, this would make it B, right? When you add the little square, then this side becomes a B side. So you're going to have A and B, and you're going to cut half up and half down. So again, when you're doing scrap, you want to make sure you have sufficient variety. And then I'll just show you real quick, like I have a ton of leftover black. I have a whole big piece like this. So I could get a ton of little squares of this, and then I can just use up all of this for my little center squares, which would be this braid right here. So I just think that would be really, really fun. And again, the length of your quarter square, this is D, is a quarter square. Whatever the length of this side is, I believe it needs to match A. So you can use A and cut A, and then use that as the guide for how long the side needs to be for your quarter square base. And then whatever this size is, these are half of that, and those are half square units. Okay? All right, so that's pretty much it for today. It's only about an hour, but just a little bit of something different. I want to throw in a little bit more of the patchwork tools periodically, just because I think Leonie West has some amazing tools that are really, really powerful, and I don't think they get enough attention. So I think this would be something I would definitely want to do. If you could see like my big giant box of scraps, I'll just show you. Let's go on a road trip real quick, and then I'll let you go. Right? This is my big giant box of scraps. I was looking for pieces that were big enough, right? Wide enough. And some of them aren't. But a lot of these are at least 1.5 inch. So if you're doing the 1-inch braid, you know, I got a million pieces that I can just use up right now, and I think that they would look really great. So you can also color code anything that you want to do. So anyway, have a great time. Hey, somebody just mentioned they missed logging in on time because Facebook said I was on at 3. Always remember that no matter what time it says, you have to find out what time it is in your own time zone. It is 3 o'clock Mountain Time Zone, which is my time zone. For So Steady, it is 2 o'clock Pacific time. So make sure that if you're checking and you're trying to find out what time something is, that you're using the correct time for your own time zone. Okay, so please like, comment, share. Thank you for all the hearts, you guys. I hope you enjoyed it. I won't do this all the time, but I think they do have a good amount of really cool patchwork tools. I'm planning to do something for the sew show using the equilateral triangle and making some different blocks, and also creating your own patterns using that tool. So that's going to be coming up a little later in the year, I think in August. So that'll probably be one of the next ones. Yeah, mine are all tossed on the floor now, but this was my box, and I'll clean it up. But I wanted to organize it a little bit, pull out some of the strips that would be wide enough to do the project that we were just working on. Okay, so have a great time. We showed you the braid ruler and the braid strip cutter, which is also the same tool that you can use to make square and a square rulers. And maybe we'll share that information a little bit later. All right, have a great weekend. Happy quilting. Peace to your heart's content. And have a happy, fun quilting time. Take care, you guys. Bye-bye.